I got a bald head. Well, I think we know why. Joel isn't there. And this is suffering from the same problem that the game had. Let's check this out. Let's laugh and have a good time. Get on over to the Critical Drinker. Subscribe. Tell them Tyrone Magnus sent you.
Another week, another episode of Last of Us to get through.
Oh my God!
I didn't watch last night. I didn't feel like it. Last week's episode was boring. I didn't care. And I felt it then. And I felt it a little earlier. After Joel died in the previous episode, before that, I was like, I don't think that the story revolving around this particular Ellie can keep the fans interested. And I'm correct, because viewership's already going down.
And I say it that way because that's exactly what this show is starting to feel like for me. Homework. Some mildly unpleasant tasks to be completed as quickly as possible instead of a
it's like Kevin Feige and Marvel.
That I can't wait to experience week after week. And apparently, I'm not the only one to feel this way, as the show's lost almost 20% of its audience by episode 3, and its Rotten Tomatoes score has plummeted to just 49%, officially marking it as rotten for the first time. Golly gee.
Wow! That I didn't expect. See, Naughty Dog? We told you! Look at that. It was bad in execution in the video game, and it was bad in execution on TV. Didn't want to listen to us. We're all bigots, and even though we loved all the characters beforehand.
Wiz, I wonder what could have possibly caused this.
I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
The thing is, almost everyone knew this was coming. Everyone who played the games knew that killing off Joel was going to put the show into a death spiral that it would struggle to pull out of, as the narrative devolved into a grimly sadistic misery simulator where every major character dies or ends up broken and alone. Everyone who watched season 1 could have told you that Bella Ramsey's Ellie was
a misery simulator. Yeah.
wasn't going to be able to carry a show like this without Pedro Pascal there to support her. Everyone knew this was coming, except for HBO, apparently. You know, they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again and expecting different results.
Talk to Marvel. You damn right.
And if that's the case, then I think...
And they're reaping them results right now with Thunderbolts. That rhymes like to play the game. Bars! Look at the box office. And... like I said, they better pray that word of mouth spreads fast. I don't understand why people like it. It's like the Macarena. I don't understand why people like it. I just know that they liked it, okay? You don't know what the Macarena is? Do your research? Anyway, so I've already seen numbers, what they're talking about, what it needs to make to break even, and it don't seem like it. Because even Grok said something between 450 to 600 million to break even. Yeah.
Druckmann needs an intervention pronto because...
In technical terminology, he's a loon.
But from a writing point of view, I think it's actually worth explaining why killing off Joel was such a massive mistake, both in the games and in the show, because this ties into a much bigger issue about character relationships and the importance of having balance and contrast in your stories. And the reality here is that without Joel, The Last of Us has no emotional heart anymore. See, the first game, and to some extent the first season of The Last of Us, both successfully tapped into one of the most compelling and universal character dynamics in all of fiction, The bond between a father and his daughter. Yeah, it was definitely an unconventional version of that relationship. Ellie wasn't really Joel's daughter, and they didn't even meet each other until she was an adolescent, but the all-important dynamic was still the same. Joel was the experienced protector and father figure, and Ellie was the young and vulnerable daughter that he had to guide, protect, and watch over. He was jaded, cynical, and pragmatic, hardened by a lifetime of tough choices and brutal survival, while she was idealistic and maybe a touch naive, eager to see the world without knowing much about how dangerous it could really be out there. Obviously, she was no match for him physically because he was a grown man and she was a little girl, and if anything, she's actually a burden on him at first. She doesn't know much about hunting or survival. She makes a lot of
Speaking of that, I hear that Ellie took down some dude like 2 or 3 times her size in this episode that just came out.
mistakes that almost get them both killed, and despite all her bullshit and bravado, she's actually pretty scared and intimidated by the world around her. It made for a great contrast, allowing them to spark off each other, provoke and challenge each other, and grow and develop in interesting ways. Because of Joel, Ellie gradually learns how to look after herself, how to survive in a harsh and unforgiving world, to the point where she even has to step up and become a protector for him when he's badly wounded. And because of Ellie, Joel's demeanour slowly softens as he warms to her and starts to see her as more than just a package that has to be delivered to a destination. He begins to see her as someone he genuinely cares about, a surrogate for the daughter that he lost 20 years earlier. Joel brings out Ellie's inner strength, while Ellie brings out Joel's humanity. In a neat piece of narrative give and take, they each fill gaps in the other's life. The show mostly managed to replicate this dynamic in Season 1, despite its best efforts. And the reason I say that is that you can tell they did everything in their power to toughen Ellie up and break Joel down, bending the dynamic as far as they could possibly go without breaking it. The Ellie in the show was much more confident, assertive and capable right from the start, easily taking control of conversations and disagreements, rarely showing any fear of Joel or the world around them, frequently disobeying his instructions and mouthing off at him as if a 50-year-old man with a gun that she barely knows is the kind of guy you'd want to risk pissing off. TV Joel, on the other hand, is much less decisive, capable and stoic than his game counterpart, even at the beginning of their journey together. He suffers from panic attacks, he's starting to struggle physically and often seems to be at a loss for what to do next. He frequently gets flustered and outmaneuvered in conversations with Ellie, and he even defers to her when it comes to making decisions, as if a 12-year-old girl who's never been outside the walls of her hometown is the kind of person you should listen to in a life or death situation.
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
The subtext here is that TV show Ellie has a lot less to learn from Joel than her game counterpart, that she needs him less. There's less of a contrast between them, so the father-daughter dynamic is weakened considerably. It's not destroyed completely, but it's far inferior to the game, and that's not even taking into account all the shameless political pandering the show indulges in.
Communism. Nah, I didn't like that.
It is that, literally. This is a commune. We're communists.
This place actually fucking works.
You see, kids, if everyone just pulls together and does their part, communism really can work for all of us. To find out more about how you can get involved, contact your local political commissar now. Still, it was enough to keep audiences happy with Season 1 of the show. That, however, is gone now. Joel's dead, and instead, Ellie is left with Dina to play off of. And well, that's a whole different dynamic that's considerably less interesting.
Much less.
Because there's no contrast between these two characters. They're about the same age, the same gender, and roughly the same level of experience and competence. Even their personalities are broadly similar. Yeah, Ellie's a bit more serious and focused, and Dina's a bit more outgoing and playful, but there's really not that much of a difference between them. Joel and Ellie's relationship wasn't just a broken man and a frightened girl trying to find a way to connect with each other, it was a clash of different generations and worldviews. Joel, who still remembered the old world before the collapse, and Ellie, who was born into the new world but still has to experience it. Joel's maturity and experience versus Ellie's youthful passion and curiosity. Ellie and Dina don't have any of that because they're so similar, it's more like watching a person talking to themselves. Their scenes come across as flat, dull and tedious, and not just because the actors don't have much chemistry together. Neither of them has anything particularly interesting or insightful to say.
You got that dull and tedious part right. Boy. Watching that last episode, I was just like, oh, God, man, this is... Oh, it's not gonna work.
don't offer contrasting opinions drawn from different life experiences. They don't even have different physical capabilities that might offer some kind of contrast in how they approach situations. They're just two asshole teenagers meandering through the world and swapping shitty jokes and speculating about stuff that they don't really understand. And how can I put this? Teenagers aren't exactly the most interesting people you'll ever meet, and for obvious reasons. They haven't seen and done enough to mould them into interesting people yet. They're more like houses that have just been moved into. Yeah, the potential is there, but there's none of the interesting decoration or personality that builds up over time. In fact, when you think about it, the three main characters in this show now are all pretty similar. They're the same gender, roughly the same age range, the same size and build, and the same level of experience. Again, there's no real contrast between them, and so there's less to get interested and invested in. It also means that this show is badly missing gravitas. Like it or not, there's a certain kind of authority and charisma and command that only older men possess. Young guys don't have it and women don't have it, and when you erase it from a narrative, you lose that sense of believability and gravity that a show like The Last of Us is desperately striving for. It doesn't have it now, and you won't find it with characters like Ellie, Abby, and Dina. All of this is my long-winded way of saying that killing off Joel was a huge mistake in the games, and it's likely to be just as damaging to the TV show. Not only was it a shitty way to kill off such a popular character, but his death leaves behind a narrative hole that nobody else is capable of filling. They really did try the same thing as before, and surprise, surprise, they got the same fucking result. And they really have no one to blame but themselves. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Yeah, Abby in the show really should have played Ellie. Oh man, I will try to get this episode out today, but I do not feel like it. I'm just letting you guys know. It's just, I feel like I'm gonna be bored out of my mind. Well, post your comments down below. Let me know what you all think. Are you enjoying The Last of Us right now? Season 2? Are you? Are you still viewing it? Are you loving it? Let me know. Are you hating it? Let me know. 10 million subscribers. Woo!